So when we talk about derivatives of exponentials, we have to understand the difference in the process of a polynomial versus an exponential. So let's consider the values of 2 and x. So we could arrange 2 and x in a polynomial. And if we had 2 and x arranged in a polynomial, it would look like x to the 2. That's considered a polynomial, because if you take the 2 and you make it a power, that is a polynomial. Whereas if you take the 2 and the x and you arrange them as an exponential, then it's 2 to the x. So in other words, the position of the base and the value of the base and the value of the power trade. In a polynomial, the base is the variable, and in an exponential, the power is the variable. And they have different rules for how to take the derivatives. So it's key, within your homework, they're going to interchange them around. And so it's important for you to understand the difference between how those two go. So we know how to do polynomial derivatives already. All right, polynomial derivative x to the n power. A polynomial derivative would become n in the front, and then x to the n minus 1 as a power. And then we've also learned that we need to tack on to that x prime, depending on what x is. If x is just the number x, the letter x, then the derivative is always 1. But if it happens to be something else, like 3x, then we need to have the chain rule on that. So that's polynomial derivatives. So let's talk about the new thing today, which is exponential. All right, so if you have n to the x, the derivative of that is n to the x itself multiplied by the natural log of whatever n happens to be, so whatever that number happens to be, also multiplied by the chain rule of x prime. So that chain rule comes into play every time now we learn a new derivative. We saw that in inverse trig. Every time you did inverse trig, you also had the chain rule. And so the same thing with polynomials and exponentials, you're going to have the chain rule there as well. So let's just take that first problem as our example and let's see how that works out. So if we've got our function y defined as 2 to the x, then dy dx, which is the derivative, is just going to follow the rule for exponentials because this is defined as an exponential. So the rule says start with the exponential itself, multiply it by the natural log of that base value, and in this case, then use the chain rule on x, which happens to be 1. So it's very much of a plug and chug derivatives, again, once you learn the rule for that. And so if the power is a little bit more complicated, the rule still applies. So if you have y equals 3 to the x squared minus 1 as a power, okay, that's considered an exponential. You can always tell an exponential because the base is what is constant. And so dy dx for this would be the exponential itself, so 3 to the x squared minus 1, multiplied by the natural log of the base value of 3, and then multiplied again by the chain rule of the power, which because it's x squared minus 1 is going to be 2x. And so in terms of writing it, when you would put your final answer and what would come first, the order usually goes, the 2x part would come first, then the natural log of 3 would come second, and then usually the exponential comes at the end, often in a parentheses or something, just to clarify that they're not, it's not multiplied. So as long as the base is what's constant, you can use the exponential rule. So another example might be e itself, e to the 3x minus 2. That's the constant. Just like the number 2, just like the number 3, that is considered an exponential. So dy dx, its derivative would be e to the 3x minus 2 itself, multiplied by the natural log of the base value of e, multiplied by the chain rule of the number 3. Now we know that the natural log of e is 1. And so we can clean up that answer, and we'd put the 3 in the front, and then the 1, which we don't really need to write, and then e to the 3x minus 2 as its power. Okay, how about this one? All right, how about if y is defined as x to the 2 pi? And then what would the rule be for taking that derivative? All right, well, what rule should we use for this one? Polynomial this time. Okay, we're going to use the polynomial rule. Why? Because the variable is the base, and the power is constant this time. The variable is the base, and the power is constant. So the derivative of this is going to follow the polynomial rule, which says pull the value of the power down to the front, so 2 pi would be in front, and then drop the new power down by a value of 1. Now be careful, it's not going to go down to 1 pi. It's 2 pi minus 1. That's not the same as 1 pi. It's 2 pi minus 1. And then the chain rule on that, which is the number x, the variable x, and so that would be just the number 1. Now if you flip that around, you would apply the exponential rule instead. So if you had y to the 2 pi to the x, now it's an exponential. And so the derivative for that, dy dx, would be the function itself times the natural log of the base value of 2 pi and the chain rule of 1. And so the answers do look different in derivatives. You have to make sure you're using the right derivative rule. And so you'd probably want to write this as the natural log of 2 pi in the front, and then multiplied by the quantity 2 pi to the x. That would probably be technically the right order to put that in. Okay, let's up the ante a little bit. So you might see a function that comes in the form of this. 5 as its base, which looks deceptively simple, but then its power becomes the cotangent of 3x squared. So all of that now has to be dealt with, and this is going to be using the exponential rule. And so the exponential rule says, all right, keep 5 to the cotangent of 3x squared in its entirety, multiply by the natural log of 5, and then multiply by the chain rule, which is going to be the derivative of the cotangent. So now you got to remember what the derivative of cotangent as a trig function is. And so we know that's going to be negative. The derivative of cotangent is what? Cosecant squared. The quantity on that is 3x squared. And then we've got to do the chain rule again, because 3x squared still has parentheses, and so then we're going to have 6x. And so you've got all of this to put together. And so what's going to lead out is the negative. The 6x would come next because it was the polynomial piece. Then the constant natural log 5. Then the squared cosecant of the quantity 3x squared. Can you turn that off, please? And then at the end, your 5 cotangent 3x squared that you actually started with. So it's a lot of nesting going on, a lot of pieces to remember Sometimes the chain rule isn't just one, it's multiple links in that chain. All right, the last one I wanted to finish up with is a polynomial that looks like this. Okay, let's say we've got y equals e to the sine inverse of the square root of 2x. All right, so we've got now the sine inverse is our power. So dy dx would be this original function itself, e to the sine inverse of the square root of 2x, multiplied by the natural log of e. So we'll just get that done and out of the way. Then we've got to remember how to do, from just over the weekend, how to do the derivative of inverse sine. So that's going to be 1 over, because it's sine, it'll be positive, the square root of 1 minus. Now we've got the square root of 2x as a quantity squared, which will get cleaned up. And then the chain rule on the square root of 2x, which is going to be 1/2 the quantity 2x to the negative 1/2. There's a danger spot right there. If you forget those parentheses, it's tempting to try and reduce the 1/2 with the 2. And then the chain rule on that parentheses, 2x, which will give me the 2 finally at the end. So we have a ton of different pieces all going on here. So what I'm going to do to simplify this is that the 1/2 that's in front of the parentheses and the 2 that's part of the chain rule at the back, those two will reduce. The natural log of e is going to simplify to 1. So altogether, I'm going to have 1 over. In my square root, I can simplify that to be 1 minus 2x, because I have a radical that's being squared. Put a green circle around the 2x parentheses to the 1/2. So that'll be a square root 2x in the denominator. And then all of that is being multiplied by the original e to the sine inverse of the square root of 2x. And so you can multiply those two square roots together. So you'd have 1 over the simplified square root of 2x minus 4x squared, and then times the e to the inverse sine of the square root of 2x as your final term. There's probably not a huge difference between leaving those last two steps, whether you combine the square roots in the denominator or not. Just be aware if you're looking to match an answer, it might be that they've distributed it in. Yeah?
Can you explain like the green circle, like why you don't like apply it
To the,
like how you take the derivative of that?
okay, so let me go back. I'm taking the derivative, I'll put another green circle, I'm taking the derivative of that, right? And so I'm going to think of that as parentheses 2x to the half. That's what I'm going to think of that as before I take my derivative. So when I do take my derivative, the 1/2 is going to move to the front. The power goes down by 1, which would be negative 1/2. And then on my chain rule is going to require me to times that by 2. So my derivative is going to be 1/2 out front, a negative 1/2, and a multiplied by 2. So let me erase. So now that's what that derivative is going to be. Can you see that? Okay, so I've got 1/2 in front, a negative 1/2, and a 2. So that's what I ended up with back here at the end. Ultimately, the 1/2 that I brought down in the front and the 2 that was part of the chain rule, those simplify, and so those aren't part of, those are gone now because they cancel each other out. So all I'm left with is this. And so 2x to the negative 1/2 is the same as 1 over the square root of 2x, which it showed up right here. All right. Anybody else need a clarification on that? Yeah. What do you mean? I mean, these are multiplied, and since multiplication is commutative, the order, I mean, 2 times 4 and 4 times 2 are the same thing. I'm just saying what's usually customary and how the order that they do it. What you want to watch out for, which I see some people do. All right, so say they have this as their problem. I'll just give you an easy one, like e to the 5x. Okay, so then I would see people do their derivatives, and they'd go, no, let me give you a different base. Let me give you 2 to the 5x. Okay, so I'd see people do this. They get the 2 to the 5x right, they get the ln 2 right, and they get the 5 right. Then they do the calculus right. They do the algebra wrong, because then they'll tell me natural log of 10. Okay, you can't, and because they're multiplying those two numbers together. Right, that is not the right use of, that's not how natural logs work. You can't multiply natural log of 2 times a number. So then I would argue that it's better to get things in the right order, because the right order would have been to put the 5 in the front and the natural log of 2 second. And then you're less likely, because that natural log is now looks like it's in the middle, visually you're less tempted to multiply 2 and 10 together, 2 and 5 together, because the 5 and 2 are separated. So if you write it in the right order. So my argument is just to try and do it to avoid careless, brain fart mistakes that you don't want to make. Okay, so I guess that would be so the right answer would be even to totally do that and keep yourself from, even being tempted, because I see other people too, I've seen it all, where they will then have this, and then all of a sudden they'll combine these two, and they'll say that that's a 4. 2 times 2 is 4. So there's all kinds of dangers in algebra. It's hardly ever the calculus that people mess up. It's almost always an algebra mistake.